Hello dear students, I am Rahul Sharad Joshi, Assistant Professor at the Bhopal School of Social Sciences, Department of Commerce. I would be taking lectures on financial management. In the previous lecture we discussed operating leverages, and in this lecture we will be discussing with the financial leverages. So let's start with this. Now, financial leverage studies the relationship between the EBIT and EPS. Whenever EBIT changes, what would be the impact on EPS? That is something which is studied in financial leverage. So how do we define financial leverage? The formula for financial leverage is percentage change in EPS divided by percentage change in EBT. And how do we calculate the percentage change in EPS? It is calculated by increase in EPS divided by EPS. And how do we calculate percentage change in EBIT? It is calculated as increase in EBIT divided by EBIT. Now, one more important point. While studying operating leverages, we have studied that it's the relationship between sales and EBIT, whereas in case of financial leverage, it's the relationship between EBIT and EPS. So what is the linking point? The linking point is the EBIT. Let's see how it is. Now let's understand the functional relationship. Now in this case, it's the sales revenue and EBIT. This combination is nothing but your operating leverage, because it studies the relationship between sales revenue and EBIT, whereas in the next channel you will see that it's the relationship between EBIT and EPS. This is nothing but your financial leverage. In both these things, functional relationship, please make sure that EBIT is here also, whereas EBIT is here also. The point of difference is under operating leverage, EBIT is dependent variable, whereas in case of financial leverage, EBIT becomes the independent variable. So EBIT is known as the linking point. Now let's understand the concept of financial leverage. We are continuing with the example which we have taken in operating leverage. In that case, now we have taken 50% as tax rate, and one major thing is there is no debt financing involved. And the total funds employed is 5,000 divided into 500 shares of rupees 10 each. Now let's study the impact on financial leverage. Now starting from sales and ending on EBIT, this is nothing but your operating leverage. Now when we want to study financial leverage, we start from EBIT and we go to EPS. Now in case of EBIT, you will see we have an EBIT of rupees 2,000, and in the expected case we have an EBIT of rupees 3,200. Then we don't have any interest component simply because we don't have any debt financing. Then we come to tax rate, which is 50%. So 50% of 2,000 comes to 1,000, and profit after tax, that is 2,000 minus 1,000, it comes to 1,000. Then we have number of shares, that is 500. Then how do we calculate EPS? That is profit after tax divided by number of shares, that is 1,000 divided by 500 gives us an EPS of rupees 2. Same way in the case of expected EBIT, we have 1,600 as tax rate, 50% of 3,200. Then profit after tax remains 1,600. Then we have 500 as number of equity shares, and in the same way profit after tax, that is 1,600 divided by 500 gives us an EPS of 3.20 rupees. Now let's understand financial leverage. Financial leverage we have defined as percentage change in EPS divided by percentage change in EBIT. So let's focus on EPS. My EPS is rising from 2 rupees. My EPS is rising from 2 rupees to 3.20 rupees, and in the same way my EBIT is rising from 2,000 to 3,200. So first I will calculate the percentage change in EPS. From 2, it is rising to 3.20 rupees. So how much is the increase? 1.20 rupees. 1.20 rupees is increased, and the base is 2. That gives me 60% increase. In the same way, in case of EBIT, the increase is 1,200. That is from 2,000 to 3,200, and the base is 2,000. So again, the increase is 60%. So you will see that percentage change in EPS also is also 60%, and percentage change in EBIT is also 60%, which gives us a financial leverage of 1. Now the financial leverage of 1 denotes that EPS level increases or decreases in direct proportion to the increase or decrease in EBIT level. When there is no debt financing, the percentage change in EPS would be the same as percentage change in EBIT. When EBIT was rising from 60%, we have seen that even EPS is rising from 60%. Why? Because there is no interest component in the cost structure. Now let's understand what will happen if there is debt component in the cost structure. Now let's take an example where we have debt financing. In this particular question, we have raised 2000 by the help of 10% debentures. Now let's see the impact on financial leverage. EBIT is 2000, 3200 as before. Now in this particular example, you would be seeing that there is an interest component of rupees 200. Now 200, how we came to this 200? 10% of 2000. So 200 comes interest, profit before tax is 1800, then 50% tax, that gives you 900 rupees. Profit after tax comes to again 900. We have number of equity shares now reduced to 300 because now the equity financing is for 3000 and 3000 divided by 10 gives you number of shares, that is 300, and EPS comes to rupees 3 in this particular case. In the expected case, we have 3200 as the expected EBIT, then we have 200 for interest component. So profit before tax comes to 3000, then 50% tax, that gives it 1500, then 1500 remains, that is profit after tax, then that divided by 300 and the EPS comes to rupees 5. Now let's study the impact. How do I define financial leverage? Percentage change in EPS divided by percentage change in EBIT. EPS has changed from 3 to 5. So the increase is rupees 2. So 2 is the increase on 3, that gives you 66.66% increase. And in case of EBIT, you will see the same. EBIT is from 2000 to 3200. There is an increase of 1200 and the base is 2000. So that gives you 60%. So you will see the financial leverage is 66.66% divided by 60%, that gives you 1.11. Now you will see that financial leverage is more than 1 simply because of the interest component which is there in the cost structure. Now the big question, why does, or rather how does fixed cost affects the level of EPS? Now we have seen when there was no fixed cost component, the financial leverage was 1. When we introduced debt financing, the financial leverage increased from 1 to 1.11. Now the big question which needs to be answered is how fixed interest charges affects the level of EPS. Now let's see. We had total fund employees of rupees 5000, out of which equity was 3000 and 2000 was with the help of debentures, and the EBIT was 2000. So we can very well say that by employing rupees 5000, we were earning 2000. So what was the percentage we were earning? We were earning 40,000. We were getting EBIT of 2000 on a total fund employed of 5000. This gives you 40%. And how much we were paying on debt financing? We were simply paying 10%. So what was happening? We were earning 40% and we are paying 10%. So where does the balance goes? The balance 30% was going to equity shareholders, and that is why we see that the earning available to equity shareholders is increasing in more than proportionate way. So that is all about this particular concept. Now one more thing remains. Now financial leverage can also be calculated with the help of some other formulas. The first one would be EBIT divided by EBT, that is earning before interest and tax divided by earning before tax. And in case if we have preferred share capital, in that case the formula would be EBIT divided by EBT minus preference dividend, and preference dividend divided by 1 minus T, where T stands for tax rate. So that is all for financial leverage, students. Thank you so much.